That last hour, did anybody want to ask the authors any questions? You got any questions? Q&As. Going once, going twice. Let's get back into the read. All right, so we're going to come back up with, I believe it was Michelle Mills. Were you first?
Yes.
All right, Michelle Mills is going to take the floor and read us a little bit more from her. Did I take a turn? I'm going to read her. I'm going to read next time. I'll read when I get there this time.
I know you can serve.
Okay. Michelle Mills.
All right. Welcome back to part 2. Now, before I continue reading my chapter in this anthology, I did want to also give a shout out to the other ladies that participated. It was 7 of us, so we all shared something that was inspiring, that was real in their lives in this book as well. So it was 7 other authors, and Shanine, she's a publisher. So one of the ladies that was a part of it, she was a publisher as well. That was one of her dreams, is to be a publishing company. And then also with this, each chapter, once you read it, you want to reflect on it, and then it has a companion journal to go with it. Okay, so tonight is a promotional deal. Generally, it's $15 for the book, $10 for the journal, but for the book and the journal together, you get it for $20, so that's a good deal. All right, so let's go back to, now if you wasn't here earlier, you missed out, because I'm going to continue. And I thought I wasn't going to need my reading glasses, but I do. So, I can go a little smoother. Headed for self-destruction. It was back in my 30s, a time when I was not committed to the Lord, but I had certain values that I stood by, one in particular. I was married at this time, living life aimlessly, my way, and certainly headed for self-destruction. My second marriage was on the rocks, and sadly, my husband and I knew it. We were not really paying attention to each other's needs or actions towards one another. One day I was feeling pretty sick to my stomach. The aroma of food was making me nauseous. I thought to myself, I felt this way before. Instead of assuming, I took a home pregnancy test. It was positive. I said, no, this can't be, especially not at this age or time in my life. Everything possible appeared to be going wrong. Still in denial, I decided to go to the doctors. It was February 27, 1998. I remember waiting in the doctor's office for my name to be called so I can take another pregnancy test. I truly thought I was dreaming. I could not believe I had let myself get into this situation. I began to pray to the Lord and say, please don't let me be pregnant. Well, it was finally my turn to go in. I took the test and waited for the results. The nurse gave me a piece of paper with the results, and it indicated I was 4 weeks pregnant one day, and my expected due date was December 3rd, 1998. For a moment, I was saddened, and then all of a sudden, I was instantly happy. I got into the car and started driving towards home, and I began visualizing having another baby to provide for and care. I told my husband, children, friends, and some of my family members. My husband tried to be happy about it, and of course, I could understand we were not in a good place in our relationship. Our marriage was in chaos, and quite frankly, it was not getting any better. I knew that other activities away from home was taking his attention as well as mine. Still, I started settling and preparing in my mind for a new child. I started thinking on names for a girl and a boy. I started getting excited. For some reason, I felt it was a girl, and I was going to name her Angela. One day I got the surprise of my life and was hit with these words: we are not going to be together. I knew deep within that he was right. However, I could not believe our discussion shift from being together to talking about me having an abortion. This hit me hard. For the simple fact, I was against abortion. Everybody knew my position on abortion because I spoken it. I thought I would never have one, no matter what. Now, here I was faced with it. Sometimes we don't know how deeply we believe something until it is tested. I felt so perplexed. How could I tell my family and friends that I am having an abortion? Or better yet, How could I face God? I needed someone to talk to quickly. I could not shake the words, "We are not going to be together." Hence, I reached out and I discussed the issue on having an abortion with one of my dear friends at the time. She said, "You can't. It's not you." I said, "I know, but my husband is right. We are not going to be together, and I already have 2 children. I can't do this alone. I just can't." At that moment, whatever faith I did have was gone. I was walking in fear. The enemy was tormenting me with my mind with all sorts of thoughts, such as, "You can't have another child alone. How are you going to provide? You already have 2 children. You're too old. Your baby might be born disabled." I couldn't bear it. My mind was set on the abortion. On the other hand, I needed help to go through with it. So I began drinking heavily and getting high to cope and not think about what I was about to do. My husband went with me to proceed with the abortion. We arrived at the abortion clinic, and I remember us waiting to be called. I was scared and very nervous. I wanted to run out. I said, "Lord, do something. Do something to stop this from taking place." My name was finally called. I got up at a snail's pace and walked into the room. I remember taking off my clothes, putting on a gown, getting up on the bed, opening up my legs and putting my feet into the gurney, and still praying to God to help me and intervene somehow. Even though we have to deal with the consequences of our own actions and take responsibility, I still was expecting a miracle and hoping God to intervene. It was time. The nurse came in and chatted with me for a moment. Tears filled my eyes as she proceeded. She gave me a shot to put me to sleep. When I woke up, it was over. I did not remember anything that took place. Nonetheless, I didn't feel right. However, spiritually, I was feeling shameful and guilty. Physically, I was experiencing lower abdominal pain, and without delay, I thought something was wrong. I sincerely thought God was about to punish me, and I asked the nurse, was the way I was feeling normal after such a procedure? She said everything should be okay and recommended I return to the clinic if the pain persisted after a couple of days. After the abortion was over, I had the audacity to be angry with God. I wasn't even in right standing with him. Still, I was angry. Seriously. Extreme notion. I was expecting him to intervene in some sort of way, and he did not. The reality was, God was there, but I, my husband, and my mother and my dear friend was the only one who knew about the abortion. I told everyone else I had a miscarriage, simply because I was ashamed and could not say the word abortion. Not me, the woman who stood against it for years. I could not believe I had killed my baby. It was difficult to handle. I stayed in the bed crying, drinking for weeks. It appeared everything around me had to do with the baby. It was a mother walking down the street with her newborn baby, or a friend announcing her pregnancy, and the countless TV commercials that all seemed to feature babies. My world was falling apart. My husband comforted me for a while. He catered to my every need. Surprisingly, it momentarily brought us closer. We even cried together. It appeared that he was able to get over it much quicker and carried on than I was able to. To this day, I don't think he truly knew or understood the pain I was feeling deep inside. I could not stop thinking about my baby. I felt so ashamed and in so much pain. It got to the point where I just did not want to live. I remember clear as day on one dreadful morning, sitting in Indian style on my California King waterbed, crying and thinking about my life and the precious life that I had took by taking matters into my own hands, as opposed to trusting and believing God will work things out for the good. I did not want to live anymore. I started pondering suicide, even to the point of writing a note to my 2 children. I was in a very selfish state. While thinking about how I was going to end my life, I heard a loud voice outside my window saying, "God still cares." I jumped off my bed and looked out the window, and I saw a man walking up the street. He looked back, smiled, and kept on walking. I knew it was an angel from the Lord. The entire atmosphere in my room changed, and I felt the presence of God. I started weeping and crying. I cried out, "Thank you, Lord Jesus." I knew then, as always, I was chosen to do a work for the Lord.
Very, very good. So we're going to just deter from the schedule a little bit and shorten the time a little bit because we got less than an hour left and we got a slow start, so I don't want to hold folks up, but we'll just read for like this. We can cut it down to like 7 minutes each if that's not so much. And I didn't read the first time, so I'm going to read a little bit of snippet before we go forward. I'll tell you about The Unnamed. It's about a girl who has identity issues because she was misnamed at birth by her teenage shooting parents. She had diametrically different parents, even though they were both from the projects, both African American, both teenagers in the 60s. Her mom came from what I call a teacher-preacher family. They were very strict Christians, and they were very academic, and they were very motivated to move their family up and outward. She was the oldest of 8 children. The dad, similar, only in that he was the oldest of his family, the oldest of 9 boys. 60s pre-birth control. You got stuck with that number, whatever kids you had. And so, and his family, nobody went to church. They didn't get baptized. They didn't get out of high school unless they were in jail. And so, 60s, I like to say, you know, it's free sex, free spirit, folks weren't watching their kids, and I like to say it was a whole lot of fucking going on. That's the term I use. So the good girl, the nerdy, calm good girl would sneak over to the birdhouse where they was flying high. And she was like a humble looking girl, pleasantly plump, overweight, kind of modest looking, where he was like a good looking guy, womanizer, had lots of women, and they were drawing each other by the opposite. She was extremely dark skinned, he was very light skinned, she was overweight, he was very lean, she was a valedictorian of her class. He was home from jail, didn't do so well in school. And this was their love child story. So she's the actually valedictorian of her school and accepted to go to UC Berkeley. He is home from jail, and none of them, like I said, got out of high school. And this is their love child. And so this story talks about the identity issue that the child has because she actually catches him in the act with her best friend when she's 6 months pregnant. He also tells her, "Can't you name the baby after somebody else?" She carries her heartache a long time, keeps the kid away from the dad. The kid looks strikingly like the dad. Everybody knows whose kid it is, including the mom and the dad. But she holds her hate, wants the kid to hate with her. The dad, they both hold their shame. So the great-grandmother, the matriarch of the mom's side, initiates the interaction between the father and daughter. But I'll give you a little snippet off the back of the book where she meets her father, but she feels very uncomfortable using the word daddy because she's never used it before. So she won't call him daddy. And she actually calls him by his first name, and he's okay with that. He's just happy to interact with her, falls in love with the kid, and doesn't ever admit what he does wrong. So if I can find it, I should have found it before I started it. Pretty much. Okay, I can't find the beginning of it. I don't want to prolong it. So I'll go to a point called open house in the book. Where at this point, the kid is 7 years old. She's interacted with her dad some. She knows her dad. She knows her mom. She lives closely with her maternal side of the family. Mom lives with